Alright, here at Herohomes, we are always sharing with you the steps of how you can upgrade from your BTO flat to a bigger HDB and sometimes to a private property. And we are always sharing with you the how-tos, the steps. Today we want to change gears a little bit. Instead of sharing with you how, we want to share with you someone's experience, someone who has gone through the entire process. That means from a BTO flat to a private property and now back to a HDB, fully paid. So our interviewee today is someone the Herohomes audience would already be familiar with. Okay, in fact, she's someone who joined us as a senior consultant in 2021 with an industry experience of over 10 years. She's none other than our very own Salwa Dean.
Hi, thank you for the kind introduction. Yes. It hasn't been a pleasant journey, but I believe the property choices which I made has made a huge difference in my life. So any questions you have, just ask away. Okay,
good. I am not gonna waste any more time. Got a lot of questions to run through. First question, first property. Can you tell me more about it?
Okay, simple, straightforward, BTO,
right.
4-room in Sembawang.
Alright, Sembawang. Why Sembawang? Were you living in Sembawang already back then?
No, my parents stayed in Jurong actually, but when we applied for BTO, Sembawang was the estate which has the shortest waiting time. So no choice lah, go for Sembawang then.
So it sounds like you wanted to go for something which was the fastest option, right? So instead of, I mean by default, if people want a quick property transaction which is quick, why didn't you just go for a resale flat instead?
Okay, being new, being just married, we wanted something brand new, something cheaper. And then of course, back then when you got engaged, your parents will tell you, go apply for BTO, cepat-cepat BTO. So, we follow what parents asked us to do then.
Right, so back then was a norm to quickly apply for BTO.
Yeah.
Today is still the norm.
It's still.
Okay. So, how much was the BTO flat that you bought, the first house?
Okay, it was only 160,000. Bought it in 2000, collected keys in 2002.
So this was a 4-room flat?
4-room BTO at Sembawang, only 160.
160. How much did you sell it for?
I sold it for 360.
360. So that's a profit of over 200,000, right? You bought it for 160k and then you sold it off for 360k. That's a lot. What was your plans after your MOP?
Okay, of course we wanted to upgrade. We thought of buying a 5-room in Jurong because parents are in Jurong. So we went house hunting and we saw a few 5-rooms, but we realized that the 5 rooms then was already almost $500,000.
Right.
And
over 500,000, I think.
Yes. And then it felt like a safe option, but then I felt that was a bit too steep for a 5-room. Yeah.
Interesting. It was supposed to be a safe option, but at the same time, you also felt it was expensive.
Yes, because HDB safe, but at the same time, alamak, expensive.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Okay, and then my agent came and sat down with us, and then he went through the options with us, and then he proposed to buy a condo. And then we were actually skeptical, boleh ke, buy a private property back then. Wasn't a norm back then. And we were like, can we really afford a condo at that time?
So what exactly were you skeptical about when he proposed the plan of upgrading to a private property instead of a HDB back then?
Firstly, we were like, can we really afford the monthly installments? Do we have to top up in cash? And then secondly, it was the management fees. It was like, we heard about silent killer. Management fees are a silent killer. And then there are hidden costs and such, And then thirdly, location. Because the agent recommended somewhere in Yishun and we thought it was a bit ulu at the time.
Yeah. So wait, why would location, ulu-ness be an issue for you since both of you drove, I remember back then?
We were thinking if we buy a condo at a ulu location, would we be able to sell it when we want to sell it? Because back then, MRT is a bit further.
Not so common.
Yeah, correct. So can sell or not?
So even before buying the property, you were already thinking about the saleability in the future for the
we did.
Okay, so that's a good thought process to have. Like example, earlier on when you mentioned you felt that a 5-room Jurong flat, 500,000, 600,000, you also felt it was steep. Sounds like you already were thinking in future who would buy over from you.
The agent thought already.
Back then you were not an agent yet.
Not an agent yet.
So eventually, how did your agent convince you to proceed with the private property purchase instead of the HDB upgrade?
Okay, he said like, capital appreciation for a private property is more than a HDB.
Okay, not guaranteed lah, but that's the promise, of course,
Yes,
right?
that was promised then. And then a price difference between a HDB back then and a condo, a private condo, also not much of a diff.
Yeah.
Also, the commission paid. 1% HDB, 1% condo.
Around the same,
much of a
right?
difference. Yeah, not much of a
Both
difference.
was around 600 plus thousand back then.
Yes. The condo which I bought is about 1335 square feet, which is almost as big as a 5-room back then.
Because 5-room Jurong back then I think would be around 1,002 square feet.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah, maybe around just 1,003. So this is actually around the same or even bigger.
Yeah, because it's a patio unit.
Ground floor.
Yeah, ground floor patio unit. So almost the same size. Management fees, he broke down. HDB, you still have to pay for your car park, your conservancy
council.
charge. Yeah.
Right.
And so it's almost not much of a diff.
How much was your conservancy fee? Well, the management fees. How much was
Management
it?
fees, yeah. It was about 920
Per quarter.
Yeah.
So per month it would be around 300.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So after you deduct your parking fees, your town council fees, so-called, you're paying difference of
About $100, 100 plus.
100, and this would be for all the facilities.
For facilities for your pool, your gym,
Right.
your facility, your
Sauna, tennis court,
sauna,
everything.
all those.
But I think today
And then-
most important would be the security guard
Yes.
and the CCTV.
CCTV,
You
yeah.
know why very important? Because you like to order things online now.
Yeah.
On AliExpress, Shopee, so it's easy
Just
for them to
drop
just
outside.
drop at the door.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Alright, so I think that's one thing that many upgraders today are fearful about. It's not just about your monthly mortgage. It's also about the maintenance upkeep, as you mentioned, because we always hear. I always hear my clients say to me that sharing with me, they hear from third parties, their parents, their friends saying that it's the maintenance fees that will kill them in terms of the condo ownership. But I believe it's always about personal financial discipline, because end of the day, living in a HDB, you still have to pay for your town council, for your parking, for your property tax. Everything is almost the same. The only difference is this time you're paying the management fees to one party. Everything is centralized. So you can imagine if you're someone who likes to complain, you don't have to worry about the agencies tai chi, the issues to each other. Everything is handled in-house.
Yes.
Everything inside the property, inside the condo is managed by the management office.
MCST itself.
So that's a good thing actually, right?
Yeah. You don't have to keep calling and find out who to call and who to reach out
Just
to.
one person will settle everything for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So these were the points that your agent helped you decide to make the leap to your first private property, and this was all the way back then in 2006.
Yeah.
06, 07?
Yep.
I was still in school. Haven't go NS yet. And you
I
already own
yes.
your first property, so congrats. That means there's an age gap. You still look young, don't worry.
Yeah, I know.
But it does sound like your agent played a big part, was a big influencer in your property decision-making process, right? So what was the most single important factor that you would say that helped him to close you to buy this private property?
He sat down with us and go through all the numbers, the monthly installments, and he advises to maximize our loan. And then we kept most of our CPF reserve, because when he sat down, right, he said we are able to pay our condo for 9 years using only CPF, and we do not have to top up cash.
That's a long reserve,
Yes,
actually. I don't think it's common. I don't think it was a common practice back then. Even today, I think for many upgraders, it's not a common practice, but it does sound like a good plan that he had for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about him planning this kind of structure for your purchase? When you saw the numbers, how do you feel?
I mean, of course, it was a great relief, knowing that you don't have to top up cash, even though we could, but we didn't want to top up cash for our monthly installments. And then he came with an exit plan.
Right.
Yeah, that's very important, because, after 9 years, if we cannot afford, you can just downgrade to a HDB.
So he gave you a timeline of 9 years before you need to sell off, by right?
Yes.
So eventually, how long did it take you guys to sell off your property?
It took 7 years. It took us 7 years.
Yeah.
We need to sell it off on the 7th year.
Why do you mention need to sell it off?
Okay, business wasn't doing that well then, and then we had debts to pay, so we really needed the cash.
Understand. But could you still afford paying for the property, since you mentioned your agent planned out 9 years worth of reserves?
Yes, we could still pay with our CPF because we still had that reserve.
Yeah.
But then we only sold it off because we really, really needed to. Because we bought our property at 630,000 and then we sold it off at 910,000.
Oh. So your first property you made 200k gross profit, and your private property you're selling for close to 300k gross profit. Not bad, huh? So a lot of correct property decisions.
Yes. But don't forget, I still have to pay off my loan.
Yep.
All right, and then the CPF interest as well. I have to put it aside. If only I would have just paid a partial of it in cash, then I would have gotten more, right?
Of course. So the full 300,000 you didn't get exactly 300,000. Partial went off to pay off the interest and all that.
Yes.
But you mentioned if you did more cash payments, you would receive more of the profits.
More, yes.
Okay, that's something to learn. That's something we actually shared about in the previous video. Yeah. Okay, let's rewind a bit. So instead of buying the private property back in 2006, 2007, 2008, instead of buying your private property, you bought a HDB 5-room plan instead, your original plan. How different would your life be, do you think?
I might be a bankrupt by now because I couldn't be able to afford to pay off my debts. Right. Imagine if I bought the HDB flat, right? I wouldn't be even making a profit. But with this condo, I'm making 300,000 to pay off my debts.
Right.
And with the HDB, if I bought it, then I can only sell it about 470. 500.
So you mentioned, if you bought a HDB, it could be a bankrupt by now. That's not an exaggeration.
It's not.
Right?
I really had that.
Why would you say you could be a bankrupt by now if you bought a HDB instead? It sounds like you're overselling the condo dream.
Yeah.
But explain a little bit more.
Okay, because if I bought the HDB at 500 plus, even 600,000, and back in 2014, prices it's even there or even lower.
2014 was when you sold off your private property.
Your private property, my private property. So I could have, because when I checked, it was about 470, maybe 500. I don't see any profit from there. I might even lose my CPF funds. Yeah.
So, interesting. So that means your profits from your private property help to clear off your business debts.
Thankfully, yeah.
Would you have stayed on in the condo, in the private property if your business didn't fail?
Oh yes. I would really love to stay on, because I love the scenery there. Ours was a patio unit. You hear crickets in the morning when you wake up.
You buy a condo, but you hear crickets.
Yeah, it's like kampong. Yeah. But then families always come. My brother would call me, hey, my children's birthday I don't want to use a function room. Yeah. Then BBQ, swimming. So after that, lepak, and then my parents will come over, sleep over, and then have breakfast at the patio. So it's like family gathering every now and then.
Interesting, because I live in a condo but nobody visits me.
You never ask, I guess.
Okay, alright. So what I really want to ask was, assuming your business didn't fail, alright, what would you have done differently?
I would have bought a second property for investment because our CPF was strong then. So if your CPF was still strong, why did you have to sell off? We needed to pay off our debts,
Yeah, if only you can pay off your debts using CPF.
How I wish everybody would be doing that, right?
Yeah, okay. So, let's move on from this private property. How was your property journey after this condo purchase?
Okay, I finally realized my initial dream. I wanted to buy a HDB flat, right?
Yep.
I finally realized that, but the difference is I fully pay off the 5-room HDB.
Right.
Yeah.
So you went one big round, one big circle of drama in between.
Yeah.
But you still own your 5-room HDB flat.
Yes, I did. It was still worth it, even though the journey was long. But the profit and the wealth preservation, right, made a difference. And then I'm able to manage to fully pay off my property faster.
Yeah. Way before.
Before I'm even 50s. I'm not 50s yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congrats on the entire journey.
Yes.
A lot of bumps, as you shared previously. Thanks for sharing your entire process. Is there any advice you'd like to share with our potential upgraders, our future HDB upgraders?
Imagine if I haven't have gotten the right advice from the agent himself. If it's just an order taker, 5-room, I want a 5-room, he'll give me a 5-room.
An EM, he give you a EM.
without going through the numbers, right? So I'm lucky.
He actually challenged your plans.
Yeah,
right? And pushed you guys.
Yes. Which is I'm really blessed lah. Really blessed, yeah. So I'm here now.
So what you're trying to say is the best advice is actually
talk to a few agents. Don't just talk to one agent you're comfortable with.
Unless the first agent you talk to is us.
Yeah, then that's different lah. Because we'll go through the numbers, and then and also any agent can just sell, but an agent who has your interest will go through with you your numbers. Yeah. And then find someone who actually has an exit plan.
Yeah.
For you.
I think that's one of the biggest takeaways for you and in that period, because he actually gave you a proper exit plan. So there's this sense of security that even if things go wrong, and it did. You still had a plan B.
Yeah.
A sensible plan B, in fact.
Yes.
Okay.
Because any agent can just sell houses.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
it's how they manage for you.
The planning.
Yes.
Yeah, selling and buying is just one transaction for us today, but you will be living with the property for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing and opening up your entire journey with us. I think it's very interesting to see in depth someone's journey who has already gone through the entire cycle. Because we always talk about how to, right?
Yeah.
So she is someone who has gone through the entire process. Was there any fear when you were going through it?
Of course, when you stay in a HDB, you're so afraid that you'll be stuck with a house, and then you don't know what to do. What if you cannot pay off?
What if you upgrade to a condo and you are stuck?
And you don't know what to do. So when you have an exit plan, right, you'll be sure of your decisions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understand. So I think it's interesting. I mean, it was, even for me, to have a peek into your entire process was quite nice to hear. We were planning for the entire interview, and I was actually quite impressed actually. And I think it shows that our property decisions, our life options and all that, we really have to consider all our options properly.
Yes, and talk to people to find out more. Don't just, sometimes when you just think about it, you don't know where to go.
Yep.
So for me, I'm so blessed to get somebody who has that knowledge, who can actually guide.
Correct.
Yeah.
If only you met me back then.
You're still in school, right?
Still in school. Okay. Alright, so basically if you're keen on upgrading, you can contact her. She's gone through the entire process. You can contact me. I am also going through the entire process. You can contact us. Our websites, our contact numbers are below. Alright, that's it. Okay, thanks for watching. Alright, see you guys in the next video.